Hello everyone, and welcome to our Saturday doubleheader feature Mopar Pro Superbike National here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I'm your series announcer Frank Wood, and I'm joined by my color commentator Colin Fraser. Today's round at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is presented by BMW Motorrad. Our broadcast is presented by Liqui-Moly, Dunlop, and Mopar Express Lane.
And here we are, ready for the first of our two doubleheader Pro Superbike Mopar National rounds. There you see our start-finish line stationary camera as the field heads out on their one warm-up lap. They've been staged and announced on the grid. They are off the tire warmers. The Dunlop slicks are holding lots of heat, and now they have about 4 kilometers to go and figure out what the plan is. And so far this weekend, the plan has been don't have one, because whatever it is, it's not going to work because of the weather.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it in the Liqui-Moly Pro Sport Bike race, and weather yesterday was just terrible around here, and it was hard to get anything done. We did get a little bit of time for the Superbikes. The Sport Bikes didn't, but the Superbikes did get some track time, but not near enough. Today, under much better conditions, as you can see in the background there, the blue sky and the clouds floating by, and track conditions are in perfect condition.
So, a lot of things have happened, Frank. The big story, of course, is we've had two winners so far this season, and both of them are in contention for the title, but Ben Young's in good shape. Jordan Zoke unusually is playing catch-up, but we have the brand new BMW just homologated on hand for Alex Welsh, and probably the real story that most of the fans are following now is that Ben Young had a gigantic crash that ended qualifying early, and it was a mad scramble to get his backup bike ready. So there are some questions about him and his motorcycle. And of course, when you're in that position that Jordan's usually in, where you're trying to be smart about points and what the race is going to play out, puts an incredible amount of pressure on Ben Young. And of course, this is what Jordan Zoke wants, right? He wants to crank it up. He wants the other fast guys to help him out. The pace is expected to be quite frantic at the front, and we doubt that anyone can break clear with the slipstream the way it works up the back straight here at former Motorsport.
You got a brief glimpse of the crowd, Colin, just off to the left of the screen there, and an excellent turnout in fans this weekend. Just splendid turnout, and the weather, of course, is working towards us, plus all the changes that happened in the off-season. And big news this weekend, of course, Kenny Riedman's back in town. He was at round one with us.
There are so many good stories, and I apologize for not mentioning Riedman right off the top, because that is a big story. But I think when you look at it, there's about 7 guys here who think they've got a reasonable chance at the podium, and I'm pretty sure there's just the 3 steps. So some people aren't going to be happy, and of course Trevor Daly didn't qualify well, Michael Leon didn't qualify well.
Okay, so here we go. The IBEW lights are coming on. We're getting ready to fire up this thing. We've got 20 laps around this race course to go. When those lights go off, we'll release the clutches. Are away and running. It looks like Jordan Zoke got a pretty good start. Oh yeah, did he ever? And Kenny Riedman as well. So Zoke leads on the Kawasaki. Riedman neat into second spot on the Kawasaki as well. And we pick up the group. There is Samuel Trepanier on the number 14
and there's
machine.
The brand new BMW in 4th place. Alex Welsh rejoining the series and showing terrific pace here right off the bat.
Bit of a surprise, because when Alex Welsh got hired by BMW Motorrad, part of the deal was no racing.
Well, and also Thomas Kazaz in 5th on that R1. He had his first ever podium in this class at our last round at Atlantic Motorsport Park.
Look at Trepanier,
lots of interesting things
jumped
happening.
Into the lead here, Colin. He has passed Jordan Zoke, and he has taken the point. Trepanier on the 14 bike leads into turn number 3. Kenny Riedman right in behind Jordan Zoke. Sorry, we're down at 5 now. Wow, these guys getting around this racetrack in a hurry.
And we're looking back to 5th now.
Awesome. We're looking back now. We were looking back from Trepanier's bike. Now we're on board with Ben Young, and he's on the B bike. As you mentioned, horrible crash in qualifying, and they had to rely on the backup bike, if you will, for this particular race. Trepanier leads Zoke again. Coming into turn number 8, Ben Young running in 3rd spot.
I think he's 5th, so I think Riedman's in there too.
Riedman in
Alex
3rd.
Welsh is in front. We just saw briefly on board with Ben, and somebody trying the inside of Zoke there. I think that was Kenny Riedman.
Yes, it was.
So Welsh again 4th, and I think Kazas has been shuffled back to 6th behind Young.
And I'm picking up on Jeff Williams there as well. It's so easy to spot Jeff on the number 7 machine, that BMW S1000RR done in red livery and the red leathers, of course. Easy to spot. Trepanier's got some distance here already in this race, and he obviously has intentions. He is one of the top running pros who has not scored a national championship win. Trevor Daly's the other one that comes off right off the top of my head. But Trepanier now with a clear field division. I've heard you mention it something several times, Colin. There's nothing in the world like riding a superbike and having nobody in front of you.
So
Trepanier now on the move.
And Daly both are expected to make that breakthrough. It's interesting to see who'll do it first. Trepanier has been knocking on the door for 2 years. This has been a tough season for him. Only one podium so far, but this leading early. We've seen him so fast at Motorsport before, and he's trying to break away. I don't think it's going to work, but he's up the pace. Like, he's fast right away. He's not waiting on the tires. And look at Riedman trying Zook on the outside, and it worked.
He got him. Riedman got him going into turn number 8. Nice move by the speed man, Kenny Riedman, passing the national champion, number 1 plate holder, Jordan Zook. And now we're looking back from Kenny's bike at Jordan, chasing him down. Trepanier now through turn number 10. Whoa, bit of a drift there. Nice corner.
Heading onto the front straight to start the next lap, and everybody's seeing on their board that there's not much to say. You know, Trepanier had a little more of a lead. That isn't even a second. And I think that Zook and Riedman, their bikes are fairly similar in performance. They're both Kawasaki's. I'd have to honestly give the edge to Riedman's bike just by a tiny little bit. But I don't think Trepanier can break the draft with this group behind him.
You know, Riedman, after scoring a podium finish at the opening round at Shannoville Motorsport Park, they took that motorcycle parked in the shed, went trail riding for the summer. So he has not thrown a leg over that bike since round 1.
Well, I'm not sure it was in a shed. It seems to be doing very well for a bike that was in the shed. I think that the guy who builds that, Scott, has done tons of work. So,
Scott, you're referring to, they're calling this Scott Cameron, of course. Scott Miller from Fast Company also has his hand in a number of motorcycles on this racetrack. And here comes Riedman on the charge. He's pulling up alongside Trepanier. They are perfectly side by side. Now there's three abreast coming up over the hill as Jordan Zook has a look to the inside. Trepanier has a lead for up until now. Kenny Riedman right on him. No, Trepanier comes out on top, and that reminds me of a couple of years ago, a very wild line by Trepanier going into turn number 8. Here we are again coming out of the corner, and Trepanier leading over Riedman out of corner 10. Riedman in second spot, Zook in third spot, and down into turn 1 we go. BMW leads with the Kawasaki's running 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think Trepanier shut the door there. He didn't slam it, but it's early days and his lead has evaporated, and this is starting to look extremely familiar. The only difference is so far Ben Young is not part of this story. Usually he's right in there.
Yeah, Ben Young, I think, is running back about 5th or 6th right now, and again, running on his B-bike. We're on board with him right now, as a matter of fact. Let's go for a ride with Braveheart, as we, I believe that's Alex Welsh right in front of him, if I'm not mistaken, and that back end of that BMW waving around a bit, and Ben had a good look at that. Here they are now, coming in through turn 5 again into Moss's corner, and they will...
Well, look at that, Frank. Alex looks like he's backing up a bunch of people. I saw Jeff Williams trying to do something pretty desperate there, so that there's a group behind Riedman. Alex who are worried they're going to get scrubbed off, right? They're trying to pick up the pace.
Riedman's on him again. Riedman has taken the race lead. Kenny Riedman, the speed man, has the race lead as they head into turn number 8 on this lap. Jordan Zook trying to sneak up into second spot. Didn't get it done that time around, but Trepanier looks to the inside of turn number 9 on Kenny Riedman, and not enough room to get the job done there. On board with Ben Young now as we pass Alex Welsh through turn 10, and now we set off after the top 3 riders. Braveheart is on the move.
Yeah, I thought Trepanier was going to retake the lead, and then we went on board with Young, and he made the pass work. So pretty frantic action for early on here. Look at Trepanier. He is all over Riedman. Here he goes.
Wow, the drift camera picking him up from the side, and Trepanier has taken the point once more. He shunts Kenny Riedman back into second spot, and Jordan Zook sitting back there soaking in all the action up front.
And look at that, right behind. Yeah. We finally have Ben Young up to 4th, but Jeff Williams is just coming on a ton. Really impressive from Jeff.
Yeah, he's having one of those yeehaw rides again, Colin. Nobody's having more fun on the racetrack than Jeff Williams this year. I can guarantee you that. These guys concentrating on the championship chase, of course, and not that Williams doesn't want to be champion. Certainly he doesn't come to this racetrack to finish in second spot, but he seems to be having more fun than anybody on our grid.
Heading up the back straight, we are looking from the back of that very fast Carrier BMW as Reedman pulls into the slipstream and wonders, should I show him a wheel or should I wait on this one?
Looks like he's going to wait on this one. Zoke having another look on the inside of Reedman, seems to be very patient at this point in
and
time.
Look at that, Young and Williams are pretty much into this
they're
lead
starting
battle.
to close up. Yeah, they're definitely starting to close up now. Down in through turn 10 onto the front straightaway once more. Trepanier with the race lead, and he brings it across the stripe to start lap number 6. So Trepanier's had a clear field of vision for much of this race thus far.
This race got entertaining right off the bat. The pace has been good. So we haven't talked about the fact that Jordan Zoke really needs to win this and Ben Young needs to be shuffled back. So Jordan in third, Ben in fourth is not going to help. That would lead to Ben Young clinching in this round with one more race to go. So expect to see Jordan start moving to the front, and I'd be suspicious if he doesn't try and drag Reedman and Trepanier further ahead.
Yeah, get a bit of a buffer there. Yeah, Zoke is in must-win situation coming into the final 2 races of this year. We'll run another Superbike race tomorrow to settle things, but whether Ben Young can capture that number 1 plate at the end of this day remains to be seen as we're looking back again from Trepanier's bike. Now we're on board with Trepanier on the Carrier BMW Blisk Racing BMW S1000 RR. Man, we got a herd of Superbikes charging up that Mario Andretti straightaway. Fully 6 or 7 motorcycles within striking distance of one another as we watch them come through turn number 8 once more.
And Jordan had a good look there, but really didn't have much in it. And right now, I got to think that Young is pretty happy. He's in fourth. Whatever he's dealing with in terms of uncomfortableness from a very big crash, he seems to be able to run the pace. So I'm not saying Ben's in control or anything like that, but he is where he needs to be to clinch and have free reign tomorrow.
Well, a couple of miracles have happened in Ben Young's life in the last few weeks. One of them was that ride from 9th place at Atlantic Motorsport Park, and the other one was earlier today when that motorcycle was able to pass tech inspection after getting a little bit ruined down in turn number 2.
And let's be clear, although the bike here goes
Jeff Williams
Jeff,
has made the pass on Braveheart, and Williams using every little bit of asphalt available at that portion of the race course coming out of turn number 2, and man, he is squirting away now from Ben Young.
Well, isn't it funny? 2 guys who have a lot of experience on old school Superbikes with no electronics and flat slide carburetors, Jordan Zoke and Jeff Williams, are now 3rd and 4th 20 years after they started being stars in this series.
I just caught sight of Tommy Kazas. Tommy Kazas is about to be involved in this conversation as well, and I believe he's right in behind Ben Young, who in turn, Zoke is on the move now. He's making his way towards the... Oh, no, he isn't. Looks like Speedman has a different idea about that. I thought for sure Jordan Zoke was moving into 2nd spot.
Well, Jordan has been taking a stab repeatedly off the back straight, and I figured one of these times it was going to work, and I think Kenny's just moving that brake marker up a little bit, and we are, as I said, a little more competitive, a little more aggressive early on than we'd expect. Normally they feel each other out, so although the pace is better, they haven't spread out. This is a much closer bunch in the lead than I think we've really ever seen in a Superbike race at Motorsport.
There are fully 6 200 horsepower Superbikes in contention for this race right now as we watch the magnificent 6 storm down in through turn 2 and 3.
And Trepanier a little wide there, and he's smoothed out again, and I'd say he's not riding quite as hard as he was, and at this juncture maybe they're a little concerned about their tires and having enough left for what's likely to be a pretty aggressive finish.
Who do you think? Oh, here comes Ben Young, or I'm sorry, Jeff Williams rather. Jeff Williams, a nice pass. He has shunted Jordan Zoke back 1 position, and that is not doing the champion much good at all to be put back in that position at this point in the race.
Oh, if Jordan's going to get aggressive, that's going to be what does it. And I don't think Jeff Williams has ridden this well in a very long time. What a great ride by Jeff. And Kazas, who the knock on him was his bike isn't built for the fast tracks. He's right there. So whatever's going on with his Yamaha YZF-R1.
Oh, man, Jeff Williams is just riding brilliantly now. You see him drift through turn number 8. Beautiful move.
On board with our points leader, Ben Young, heading onto the front straight, and he now has Thomas Kazas working his draft, and this is, Thomas was on the podium in the rain at our last event, but in a dry race with the top guys with no attrition so far, this is a breakthrough ride for him yet again.
of all the Superbike racers out there, it would suggest that there are two in particular, Colin, that are particularly hungry for their first national championship win. One of them's leading this race right now. I'm talking about Samuel Trepanier, and the other one is not in sight and didn't even get into the top 10. And of course, I'm talking about Trevor Daly there.
Yeah, and I think he's 7th or 8th. Like he's just barely visible at the back of the shot. So he has made some headway, but it's going to be, actually, he's the next bike.
Okay.
The first bike we haven't talked about is Daly. You just keep getting a tiny glimpse of him. So he's not too far back. And remember, last year he actually towed up and joined the leaders. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that this year. And look at that Kawasaki of Riedman.
Oh, man, what a rocket ship that is, as he has cleanly made the pass on the straightaway, coming up and over the hill, and Riedman has moved into the race lead.
And that Fast Company Suzuki, the Parts Canada back GSXR 1000 of Daly, is actually slightly closing up. He was a little more evident on the back straight that time in 7th.
Well, there's the Carrier BMW of Samuel Trepanier sitting in 2nd spot as Kenny Riedman enjoys the race lead here. He scored his first national championship win here, and look at this now. Things have changed again as Trepanier passing Riedman. Here comes Zoke now, coming up into turn number 2. Oh, man, I thought Zoke was moving into 2nd spot. Williams around the outside of Zoke. Didn't get a pass down there, but watch for him to make a stab coming up into 3 here. Wow, he's done it. Yeehaw! Jeff Williams moving into 3rd spot. What a move.
This is some of the best footage we've ever had. Trepanier in the inside of 1, then Williams on the inside
Williams
of 3.
Williams is going for 2nd spot.
Look at
and
Zoke
there goes
on the
Zoke.
outside.
Holy, jumped up. Down into Moss's
Daly
corner.
is closer. Daly is making up ground.
He's a comer for sure.
He
is right
how
there.
much ground he's made up. Like
he's
these
bringing
guys,
some friends to the party as well.
It's hard to keep track. There's an awful lot of
Good
people
Lord.
who are thinking maybe I can slipstream my way into this one.
Man,
okay, Daly is definitely part of this discussion now as Riedman goes the long way around Trepanier. And a lap ago, we've been so busy. That pass of Riedman was fantastic.
And here comes Riedman again with Jeff Williams now solidly into 3rd spot. And looking back at Kenny Riedman now. Oh, man, I thought he was going to sneak it on the inside of him. The Speedman had a pass in mind, but it did not materialize.
So now we have to figure out who's behind Daly because they're getting closer. So the 8th, it looks like there's Daly at the back, and then there's 2 more bikes that are gaining on the leaders.
The answer to this question is never. When's the last time you saw a Superbike race stacked up like this at this racetrack?
Well, also, it's been a long time since we've had this many bikes that are capable, right?
Well,
so it's a healthy sign for the series, but of course right now we don't want to talk about the championship overall. We want to talk about what an unbelievable race, and the action just keeps coming.
Well, the grid sheet showed 33 Superbikes signed up for this. Now, some of those riders were in the sport bike class and have elected not to run, but nonetheless, we have a full field of very capable motorcyclists here. And the people's champion, Jordan Zoke, is mired back in 4th spot. His chances of returning that number 1 plate to Canadian Kawasaki Motors and Blackfoot Cycle, his main sponsors, are pretty slim at this point in time. And we are past the halfway point in this race.
And the bikes
Zoke is on
at
the move.
Back that we're having trouble discerning, it's Tremblay and it's Welsh who's faded back a bit.
Okay. So Zoke now has moved past Jeff Williams. He's put Jammin' Jeff back into 4th spot. And the number 1 plate holder, Jordan Zoke, is in 3rd spot right now, and no doubt somewhat fired up.
And let's be honest, right? Jammin' Jeff is one of the greatest nicknames ever, but he actually is living up to his nickname today. He's done some fantastic jamming, and that outside move on 3 had me wondering if there was enough racetrack.
He has partnered up, by the way, with Ben Young. His BMW parked right in alongside Ben Young's, and I think they're sharing some technical secrets as well underneath that tent.
And we should mention a year ago, Kenny Riedman won his first ever national here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, so there's no doubt he has the pace, and I'm not 100% sure he has the fastest bike, but I think he has the fastest bike.
One of them for sure. And you know full well what it's like once you've won at a racetrack. You come back again the next time, you know full well that it's time to do it all over again. And I think that's exactly what the Speedman has in mind. He looked back in that instance, though, and of course all he saw was that big number 1 plate coming at him. And here comes Zoke. Zoke pulls up alongside Kenny Riedman and has passed him cleanly now and setting off in pursuit. Zoke is definitely on the move here. All of a sudden he has uncorked one, and he is very definitely on the move and on his way towards the front of this pack.
I think what happened there is Riedman knew he'd made just a tiny little bobble and was worried about how close Jordan was, and Jordan immediately pounced. Like, to pass that early on the back straight is very unusual Superbikes.
Trepanier getting a little wiggly coming out of turn number 10, picking up that front wheel and carrying it for some yardage down the front straightaway. So Trepanier hard on the gas, and I haven't seen him look back at all, although I'm quite sure he's aware that there's a bunch of hungry riders right behind him. He's seen a couple of them go by already.
Well, there's been some discussion about how Trepanier's pit board is presented and whether he's getting the information as well as he might, but for sure he knows, and you can feel people pulling into your slipstream. It makes the bike behave differently. It frequently shows on the tachometer, and look at this crazy action for second. That was a really ballsy move by Riedman.
A little bit questionable. I wonder if Jordan might have some concerns with that, but Riedman has snatched up second spot, and he moves in behind Trepanier. If I took
Daly is right there now.
Awesome.
He is part of this, and the other two are not that far back. So everybody is trying to figure out what they've got in the draft. And honestly, at this point, gearing really comes into play. Did you gamble on running in the draft and gear your bike tall? You know, so that.
Look at this, Riedman, Zoke, and Trepanier side by side up and over the hill. Kenny Riedman into the race lead. He has shunted Samuel Trepanier back into second spot. Trepanier now right on the back wheel of Kenny Riedman. Trepanier on the BMW, Riedman on the Kawasaki, and right in behind them is the number 1 plate holder on the Kawasaki, Jordan Zoke, we're talking about, and then Ben Young in behind him.
Okay, so I think, as well as Tremblay and Alex Welsh, and I apologize for missing this, I think Michael Leon is actually at the back of the shot. So we keep adding people onto the back, and I don't really understand at this pace how that's happening. But of course, this is like a 125 race from 10 years ago with the Honda Cup. They're moving so much air, right, that the guys at the back are just getting sucked along.
There's 10 riders now within our screen. 10 riders I counted coming into turn number 3. Now we're coming out of 3, headed down towards 4, looking at Jordan Zoke, and we are on board with Braveheart there for a moment. Ben Young, who's hoping to capture the championship here this weekend. Whether he gets it done today, tomorrow, or whether he gets it done at all remains to be seen. And we're looking back right now from Kenny Riedman's bike as we have a look at Samuel Trepanier. Riedman into the ditch.
Well,
We've seen that trick before. You see the dust come up there.
That the guys get really upset about, and I've heard Kenny complain about it, but he was doing it. And quickly, unbelievable. Around the outside, that was a fantastic move by Trepanier. But if I had to say who's been doing the best to look after their tires and not get into what this is, whatever it is, for sure the guy we're on board with, our points leader, has been fairly careful with his tires, and Kazas. He has been super careful with his tires.
Nursing it home. Lap 15 now, 5 laps to go.
Crazy. I'm hard-pressed to ever even get another race that was close to this one.
This is unbelievable action. The fans around here are really getting a treat here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park at this round 6 of a 7-race championship series. On board with Ben Young, the points leader, coming into this the last 2 rounds of this season. And now we're looking back at Jordan Zoke. On board with Ben Young again. Thank you. With Ben Young again. And so our running order right now, Trepanier, Riedman, Zoke, Young, Williams,
Kazas.
Thank you.
And then Daly. And Daly's been trying Kazas regularly. Look at Jordan. Look at that tire, right? Jordan's really good with the tire getting lively. But again, I'm wondering who's going to have enough rubber left, because it's been an aggressive pace and aggressive riding amongst the front runners as Jordan tries Riedman on the inside. And
wow. Riedman closes the door on him.
Keep waiting for there's a bike they're coming up on traffic. It's getting started.
Yeah. So fortunately, it's just a single rider, but we've got like this herd of Superbikes coming down on them now. They have spread out a bit, so hopefully they'll be able to nick past them one at a time, and that looks to be the case. That rider moving slightly offline, which is not exactly what we want them to do, but nonetheless, our race leaders have gotten past that lap rider in the field. Their field division rather is clear once more.
Heading down that crazy double apex plunge. It's just a drop, Frank. when you're on the bike through turn 2. And look at Ben Young starting to use a little more of the track and maybe wondering, maybe I can get a spot or two. And of course, Young's big thing is just to track Zoke. Try and figure out where he is in relationship to Jordan. Right behind him is just about perfect. Right, I mean, he would say in front of him's better, but nonetheless, behind him will work.
Quite so. Man, the top 4 really bunched up now in Moss's corner now onto the Marion Andrade straightaway in a big handful of horsepower. They get down in behind that plexiglass fairing and make themselves as aerodynamic as possible. And Trepanier's doing just that. He has really got his head down, chin on the gas tank, and he has intentions here. Let there be no question about that. Ben Young now closing up on Zoke.
I feel like every time Trepanier goes up that straight, he's expecting Riedman to show up on one side or the other because Riedman's bike is fast. And here we're on board with our points leader and looking at the only guy who can beat him for the championship, the king of Canadian Superbike racing, Jordan Zoke in third, trying to figure out. And I don't think Zoke's led yet, right? He's shuffled around near the front, but he's never held the point. Yeah, we're going to start encountering more and more.
Now we're watching from the back of Trepanier's bike, indeed another lapper between 2 and 3, and this is going to, if anything, I think that's Vivian Matthews, as a matter of fact. That's one of our rookies.
He's been having a really good season lately. He's been showing well on that R1 as they go bulleting by, starting down the plunge to the chute. Yet another big drop off through here, and it seems to be 6 riders now, so Daly's faded back a bit. Maybe he got slightly held up there.
And wow, we got a lot of traffic up front, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're on board with Trepanier now, and as we look up that straightaway, okay, it's just 2 riders that were coming up on just now, but again, that could definitely break up the herd.
It's 3 actually, Frank. And that's going to be tough to pick, really tough to pick.
Picked off 1, did Trepanier, and 2 more. He got the job done. Man, that was close. That was
look
scary.
At Riedman going on the outside.
Things are starting to bunch up a ton right now, as we are looking back from Trepanier, and look at the lead that he has inherited as a result of that.
Remember, it's a wide-angle lens. It's not really as broad as it looked in that shot. And look at Zoke wheeling by some of the traffic.
That was Vincent Lavillon. That's another rider that's in the Brooklyn Cycle Pro Rookie of the Year, running along with Nicholas Mounier and Vivian Matthews. The 3 riders
and that traffic has slightly opened up the leading group, but the good or bad thing about racing here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is you get back up the back straight, the slipstream comes into play, and it pulls everybody close together. All that work you did is pretty much for naught.
Yeah. And no matter how many times I come to this racetrack, no matter how many times I see this footage, I always get caught out on that, thinking that somebody's got a bit of a gap. And sure enough, we get on that dyno called the Marion Andrade straightaway, and things tighten up again, as we've seen happen so often in this race. We've had riders 3 abreast coming up over the top of that hill. And don't forget, it was just 2 laps ago where we had Riedman and Zoke passing Trepanier.
Look at Zoke, nice and early. That was impressive.
Kawasaki's, and Riedman is staying right with them. So this is the battle of the tuners that we were talking about. Scott Cameron is tuning Kenny Riedman's bike, and Scott Miller is tuning Jordan Zoke's bike, and that was true test of the tuners right there.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be a great deal between them, although I still have a hunch Riedman has a slight edge. And again, our points leader is just watching. He's been 4th pretty much for 2/3 of the race and seems comfortable, keeping an eye on what Jordan Zoke's up to.
2 laps to go, and Trepanier continues to lead. Somebody went way wide there.
That was Ben Young, I think.
Whoa, he's off the racetrack. Holy, jumped up. What happened there?
There was just barely enough room. He was on the very, very edge. And look at that, Trepanier's a little wide, so Riedman's going to think now's the time.
And now Jeff Williams is playing close company to Braveheart. He is running right in behind. And I think Tommy Casas just moved on the inside. If I'm not mistaken, that was Casas moving on the inside of Jeff Williams in turn 3. We're looking back at turn 3 right now as the riders are charging down
very wide for our leader.
Too wide. That was scary. That's a very dangerous part of the race course to be tempting fate. And we have yet another lapper that we're going to meet up with before we get up into turn number 8 at the end of this straightaway. So here we go for a ride with Trepanier. Now we look back at the action between these 2 Kawasaki combatants, Kenny Riedman on the 42 and Jordan Zoke on the 1, with a terrific contest between these 2 riders. And Riedman last year at this racetrack, oh man, contact, down goes O'Bannon, down goes Riedman. That was Oban on the 99 Suzuki. Riedman's bike's going for a ride by itself into the hay bales, and we have 2 riders down, and the Speedman has been taken out of this race with only 1 more lap to go.
Yeah, and I think that was a chain reaction
that's good news
situation.
Right there, watching him walk away.
Very good that Riedman is up, but it's actually Zoke who created that situation. He got desperate underneath Oban, and I think basically took the bars out of Oban's hands.
Yeah, that bike turned left in a hurry. So things have changed drastically here. But the action up front remains the same. It's as though Kenny wasn't there in the first place, the way they're still stacked up here. But I'm sure Riedman, a very disappointed rider, as Trepanier now has got some serious distance here. If they can catch him up on the Mario Andretti straightaway,
and Ben Young would now be on the podium, still right with Zoke, right? So this is playing out for Ben, and now Kazis is closer than he's ever been, and we're about to encounter some more. Look at how close the top 4 are. I don't think they were that close on the first lap.
Indeed, and
this is the last lap,
Daly,
right?
Yeah, it is. Daly's running in 5th spot and a little bit back off the pass, but that was a nice move.
Here we go.
And we got more traffic coming up. Ivan Babik is the next one to come in. Wow! Trepanier just about bounced off him, and Trepanier now way over to the left, almost forcing Jordan Zoke off the racetrack. I don't know whether that was intentional, but it certainly kept Jordan Zoke in 2nd spot.
And Ben Young is right there now. He's riding more aggressively, and Jordan's going to try and win this.
Man.
Watch it happen.
In turn number 10, he said, no, it's not going to happen. As Trepanier comes up, picks up the front wheel, gets a bit of a wiggle on the back tire, and he has taken his first national championship win in Mopar CSBK racing. Wow. I talked about the hungriest guys on the racetrack being Trevor Daly and Samuel Trepanier, and Trepanier has finally filled his belly winning this one. And it looks like Trepanier stopping now at turn number, I see, they've got a celebratory flag there with the number 14 on it. He must have been planning this one.
Well, Trepanier takes his first win. He's been overdue. It's not a surprise, and particularly here at this track. But, we got to mention that Ben Young just clinched his first overall number 1 plate.
Yes.
And Thomas Kazaz, yes, he was on the podium at the last race, but he was right there in 4th. Definitely the closest he's ever been to winning a Superbike race, and he's still in his rookie season. He has 1 more race to go tomorrow.
Well said. It was 2 years ago that Trepanier first got our attention, and he has developed a very strong fan base, both in his home province of Quebec and virtually across Canada as well. A very popular rider and a very popular win. I'm happy for him, Colin.
Oh, absolutely deserving victory, but there is our new number 1 plate holder, the overall Canadian Superbike national champion, and it is not Jordan Zoke. It is Ben Young, and there's Trepanier, and he's making some friends along the pit wall.
Well, not since Jody Christie in 2014 when he unseated Jordan Zoke have we seen another Superbike champion. 13 times he's won the championship, and this year, 2019, it's Ben Young's.
And it's worth mentioning that while this is a changing of the guard to some degree, it is not a change in terms of BMW. They win the race and they take the championship, and they have been dominant much of the time since Jordan Zoke took the first title for BMW in 2011.
And Samuel Trepanier taking his Lady B out for a celebratory ride. And then, of course, our new champion, Ben Young, Braveheart, has captured the number 1 plate. I wonder if they'll let him run the number 1 plate tomorrow in Sunday's race.
So let's look at the results. We've talked about the top 4. Trevor Daly from outside the top 10 after all kinds of problems in qualifying with the weather and whatnot. So up to 5th, great ride. Alex Welsh, obviously careful around the other BMWs. Jeff Williams really could easily have done better. Tremblay, who we virtually never saw. Michael Leon, who was near the back of that group. And Steven Nickerson on that Honda. Yeah. And another good result from a guy who's been having a pretty solid season in his privateer effort. So now let's head down for all the juicy details at the podium with Frank.
Have a chat with Braveheart. Ben Young, tell us about your race.
I was going to try and make a move on Jordan at the end, but once I blocked the door and nobody could come by me, I knew there was nothing to stop us from winning the championship and taking that number 1 place. So feels so good. The BMW worked awesome all weekend, and it's just so great to be here. It's 3rd place. Thankfully, our worst finish of the year, but definitely the best we have a 3rd place, that's for sure. So thank you to everybody out here. You guys made it unreal and such a wild race, and I can't wait to watch that one on TV.
Yeah, me too.
There was a pile of us going for it, and I was hoping that we would just settle in and try to work away a little. And at 1 second I seen +1, so I'm like, oh great, 3 of us are getting away, and I was pretty content sitting there, and then everybody started dive bombing everybody everywhere. The one lap we came up the back straightaway, and I didn't see the lap rider, but Kenny and Sam checked up a bit going into 8 there, and unfortunately I went flying by everybody. It wasn't my intention. I feel bad. I hit the lap rider with my knee. He tore my knee slider off. So and apparently he went down and took out Kenny, and that's not how I ride. I was a total mistake on my part. I didn't mean to do that. I just, like I said, I got sucked in there in the double draft, and I apologize to everybody there. It's not what I meant to do. But, so I still put my head down to try and win the race and take the championship till tomorrow. But it was really tough the last two laps with no knee slider to put your knee on the ground. But Sam rode great. I thought I could make a run on him on the last lap, but there was another lapper there that was kind of in the way too on the back straightaway. So I had to try and go around the outside of everybody. What can I say? Congrats to him. It's his first win of his career. And it's well deserved. It's been a while coming for him. And I want to say congrats to Ben. He's really hasn't put a foot wrong all year until this morning. I was going to slap him when I seen he fell down there. He shouldn't. Should have been a little more careful. But I'm glad he's okay. He won the championship. Tomorrow's another day, and we'll try and get a win tomorrow.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, your second place finisher, Jordan Zook. Now to the top of the box. Boy, I've been waiting for this one, and so have you. Congratulations, Samuel. Let's talk about that race. Finishing in first spot, Samuel Trepanier, his first national championship win. And there's a lot of happy people out here. Sam, you've made a lot of people happy.
I'm very happy, Frank. That was a real first victory. I mean, I was fighting out there, and I'm sorry for the lappers. There was a couple passes that was very close, but with Jordan behind Kenny and Ben, I mean, I had like not many choices, and anyway, that was a real race and a real victory, and I'm very happy about this first one.
Ladies and gentlemen, your race winner, Samuel Trepanier, and your podium from the penultimate round of the 2019 Mopar Canadian Superbike Championship, Ben Young in third place with a championship in hand. Second spot goes to Jordan Zook. And for his first national championship win here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Samuel Trepanier.
Looking at our point standings with one more race left to run, but the most important heavy lifting has been performed by Ben Young. Gap of 57 points over second place Jordan Zook, our outgoing title holder, means that Ben Young cannot be beaten tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow we're not racing for points, so that could be even more interesting than it was today. Trepanier has climbed all the way to third after starting with a couple of bumpy races. Kazas, a remarkable fourth. What a great rookie season on the Superbike. And Daly in fifth from Jeff Williams, Nickerson, Leon, Nicolas Meunier having another decent race, and then Vivian Matthews, another terrific effort on the Yamaha R1.
Well, that wraps up round 6 of the 2019 Mopar Canadian National Superbike Championships. Round 7 runs tomorrow here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll look forward to broadcasting that race to you tomorrow. Until then, on behalf of Colin Fraser and myself, Frank Wood, and the entire CSBK crew, thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow. Today's Round 6 race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park has been presented by BMW Motorrad. Our broadcast is presented by Liqui-Moly, Dunlop, and Mopar Express Lane.